Skillet Victorious. Whew. Alright. Yeah, I had to wear the shirt. I had to show some proof. It's not like I didn't do that last time, and, you know, we all know how that album turned out with Unleashed. Though, I might be in the minority of saying, but also, that kind of depends on how you listen to this album, because you want to know how I first listened to this record? Here's a list. Here's a list. Hold on. Just in case you want to read it. Pause it. Try to see if you can read it. Even though it's probably backwards from and whatnot. But, yeah, that's how I had to listen to it. Through the damn channel. Somebody needs to tell them to fix it. They're lucky I was going to get a copy anyway because I'm a collector. It's just how at this point, I'd be stupid if I didn't bother to, but yet I'm already stupid. The only dumber thing is bothering to listen to it when you're not going to get much of anything, and if you do, it's not a good, winds up not being a good thing at this point. And it's just, and it's even more upsetting if you've got a taste of what Jen Ledger did in her solo EP and the Fight the Fury EP that Seth, I believe, Mosley, apparently, I believe, who filled in for Ben, who's for local homie St. Louis, which is why I'm even more upset about Awake, because that was his last album and he barely got to do anything much for that record, or at least anything standout worthy compared to what he had done on Comatose. You know, don't even collide for that matter. Heck, I'm just gonna say it, just stick with those, and in fact, if you want to graduate to something better, I could even tell you to go straight to Devin Townsend Transcendence. And especially at this point after all these releases. One consistent thing is at least Legendary is still the first track, and, you know, yeah, there's a track listing we all know. Right there. So, yeah, so I had Save Me as my first, so I'm just, hold on, stay, good camera, alright, yeah, I at least can say one thing, it's better than this concept record. Fight me if you want. It's the truth, deal with it. Despite my qualms with the more, honestly, I feel like if you just get rid of This Is the Kingdom and Finish Line, you'd have a better album experience. And, you know, wait to find some better 2 tracks or so from a deluxe edition that they may only release within a year later and redact it from there, I guess. Yeah, heck, you could probably get rid of, hell, for last record, you could get rid of Famous and put in Breaking Free, and I think would have a better record. I really do believe that. I really do believe that with Unleashed. So, and I like Unleashed a little bit better because at least that record, you could tell the production was at least Comatose-esque because of who they got producing that record. And I think they had Chris Lord, but I don't know if he's mixing this record anymore. They don't even tell you who mixes this record on the back of it, like before. And you just gotta look in it, find out, and for the most part, all it says is John and Corey. The only founding members that are at this point left in the band, or at least any form of what was left of that classic lineup anyway. And even that, at this point, I feel as though they're just going by whatever, just to get the money they need to kind of pay the bills, more so, or at least in John and Corey's case, the child support. So they can at least, and whatever education and food they need for their kids. Which, you know, for family stuff, you know, I can't say too much since I'm a single bachelor, but I do have nieces and a nephew. So there is that. So and here, just going from what I can get from what little in perspective from there. Okay, you at least have more of an excuse in compared to the bands I'm starting to kind of run off and compare you to in terms of going more formulaic to pay the bills and all that stuff. In the sense of Nickelback, even though that record I would rather I would rather go to Feed the Machine than this. It's a hot take, but take it for what it's worth. Because at least you could tell that they seemed like at least like we're starting to try because they had to. And I'm hoping they still will. Fingers crossed with them. And they're making these, and like Maroon 5 are making empty, in comparison to this whole Songs About Jane thing, of making those empty promises of going back to that kind of vibe and sound and template. They, not entirely that, at least with Unleashed you kind of did in terms of production, for the most part, but the songwriting wasn't there, not fully, enough to make a worthy album experience, or at least to come off as refreshing as it was, at least within the time, at that point in time with Comatose. And at least that record, in comparison to here, ages far better, even though somehow Collide kind of does a little bit better, despite production maybe saying otherwise, but it still works to the extent where those albums I would rather at least pair into a better band, somewhat better band at one point in time in Metallica, whereas here, hell, even to the point where with Comatose, I'm willing to see with that record some in production and everything, some slight comparisons to, and even in songwriting to some extents of essences of Dream Theater and Devin Townsend, which is why I also would recommend the Collide Comatose to that. With Legendaries, yeah, you could kind of tell they're just taking from the Imagine Dragons thing, and it's so dated, which is dated because they apparently on Papa Roach, they haven't learned that's gotten old and already stale because of how much they drove it up our asses. I'm trying not to cuss when it comes to Christian band, but right now I can't with this. I'm sorry. But it's frustrating when Demon Hunter's all I've got this year. And I gotta wait for Red to do that, because we're not getting much from Christian bands anymore. Although the last time that actually happened was Under Oath, technically, and even most people were still satisfied there. And even that was kind of dealt with the B-boot, but somehow they handled it so much better, even far better than whatever Bring the Horizon did and brought to the table with that. But just here, I almost feel like either just stick with Fight to the Fury and and stick with what you're doing, I guess. No, I actually need more context in those records, but still. And that's even more that's what makes this album frustrating. Like, I had to listen to it, like I just said. I went from this to actually whatever the actual album was, and the moment I see Back to Life, I'm like, yeah, I'm not surprised. You did the same thing you did. You ended it the same way you did Unleashed. You don't end it this album. I like it, but yet I got kind of sort of slight. I may have to. I don't know if I even should go back to Unleashed to check it out. But at least there, was production wise, was better. Even though I could easily just take out one track in Famous, which just did not work there. And here, like I said, it was. And I mean, New and Rainy isn't a bad follow-up, but for the most part, they're just kind of playing samey stuff, which somehow winds up sounding better than when they try to Imagine Dragons, sort of with Legendary, even though there's at least some essence of what they usually do. And at least Victorious seems, though not nearly as well as I Want to Live from last record, but and Save Me kind of works. At least it seemed redeemable, and you did kind of get something with Anchor, even though Stars was technically better, and you had a bunch of different other versions that were still just as somehow good. or at least maintained that a certain essence of quality, even if you had changed up the sound of it, which is just how you know you at least did have a good song in your hands there. I don't really get that feeling with Anchor as much. Reach is okay. It has there's some decent guitar stuff, ideas of riffing here and there, even if it seems generic, even by Skillet standards. Terrify the Dark, I could live with that, but I'd rather hear that than This Is the Kingdom at this point. Rise Up is fine. There's some moments where at least it seems more Skillet than them just going Imagine Dragons, or being eaten by the Imagine Dragon. Even more ironic, given that they felt like they needed to try to appeal to the Game of Thrones crowd, even though by the time your album was released, not a lot of people were happy with that series. So yeah, you kind of, that isn't helping you, man. Between that and, sorry if I trajectory spit, I'm sorry. And it seems, at least with Victorious and Back to Life, you do get some decent, and kind of with Save Me, you get some decent, something decent in terms of songwriting, I guess. But I know I'm even longer than this, and I don't have more to say, but I'm willing to say I do have enough more to say here with this, then it's fine. But I don't know if I can really say that say like most people who are even back, who are bringing some sense of backlash to this record. John and Cora do fine with their production, but I feel like the tracks that really do hurt this record, to me, literally are the ones that were done by Full Circle. Like, I'm sorry, but you gotta, or at least by Full Circle alone, those, just get them out. Which I guess is the production company that Mosley and this other guy did, who does additional guitars with him or something. And yeah, you guys, or at least there's the songwriting in it on top, not even so much the production, just doesn't work. And the mixes are not terrible, but it just doesn't, it's not working. You need to do something. You need to find what made Comatose and Collide work as well, and still find a way to hold up as well as they do, which I know is also in perspective, but for what Skillet brings, there's something there, even in songwriting, that works, whereas it just does not here, and it's just going through the motions with them. And when they don't, they choose to end it just so we can want to come back to the album, when really, in all honesty, compared with, why would we, when we have better from this band in past releases like Collide and Comatose. And I know seem like I'm being that broken record consistently, which I did that with the Scott Stapp one, and I'm sorry to some of those, and I've still had to respond to some of them, the long form comments I had to get there. Yeesh. Even though I could just point you once to Crash Thompson, of the rock critic himself, on that one, and he'll probably say the same. He's probably the same sour apple as I am here. Heck, I don't even know if he's going to be any kinder to this record, or if he's going to be less kinder, just as I am about it, in the sense of saying that this is saying better than Unleashed. Yeah, the Imagine Dragon, being eaten by the Imagine Dragons really does not make that the case here. And the ones that are the most are the ones you should get rid of on this track listing. And then whatever you choose to come out with that, probably put that in its place, and we may have a better album. But they don't. That's the thing. I don't understand, Skillet. Aside from what I've already just said, is that the only reason why you're doing things the way you've been doing them lately? Because if so, then just stop. Just stop making records. Just stop until you actually want to make something that is genuinely good. I want a genuinely good album. I want to be able to feel good about wearing this shirt. I'm not going to go crazy like I did when it came to the Kevin Smets thing for Schmodown, on the Schmilden Rocks episode, which was either 35, 36, 37, somewhere around there. But, yeah, this is that. I still have, like, my Collide and Comatose, which I have back here somewhere. Come here. Where'd you go? Where'd you go? Oh, where'd you go? Where'd you go? Come on. Come on. Where'd you go? Where is my proof? Where is my physical proof? Come here. Woohoo! Where'd you go? Where'd you go? Ah, screw it. But yeah. And I have a story to tell about how I don't know if I did tell this story. I had seen the band live a while back at a free show. This was weeks prior to the Wakes release. Jen was kind of still freshly a part of the band within a few months after that she had joined. And it was that free show at the Arch, the Rock the River. It was them before Flyleaf had come on. There were some other acts. They were kind of hit and miss. But it was still not a bad show for being a free show, you know? I wish I didn't miss Red Set, though, personally. But, yeah, they did, and starting off with the classics like Whispers in Dark, so on and so forth. And even when it got to one of my favorites, even more so coming off of songs like Open Wounds, off of Collide, and then going into Comatose, that's what makes songs like Older I Get. I still have those moments even with my own Old Man, at least when it comes to that track. More so within the chorus, I guess you could say, but yes. And that one, poor Ben had to, even with the Malfunction, they still handled their set pretty well. And and definitely had a lot of showmanship to it. As they've somewhat come to know with their stuff, it's just, at this point, they're not the band they used to be, or what we did make them out to be. It goes 50-50, I guess, at this point. I want to defend them from people who say that he's the Kid Rock of Wisconsin. Tell me if you like you see a comment of that level of stupidity and not even want to say this is the dumbest comment I've ever heard. Because that's what I felt, and I was willing to defend that. And then hearing Legendary, why, Skillet, do you do this to me? Why do you do this to us who really who expect better of you, that know you're a better band, but yet you do this? That's what I don't understand, and I want to know that. And I want to know, will you actually do this? And I know it seems like it's a similar thing with how people have been bitching about Weezer when it comes to the Pale Pinkerton Blue album. At least Weezer actually tried and actually made something great out of it. Even if they're and even followed up with something like that. And the only thing that pissed me off about them is they just decided after that to just give the fuck up. And the funnier thing is, Rise was kind of the closest thing post-Awake that we've kind of gotten. And if that had the production that Unleashed kind of had, or at least the producer, which was the same one from Comatose, on that record, for the most part, I'd say that album would have been could have found a way to be just as, at least sonically, production and possibly mixing, because I think they were at least mixing for a while. They still relied on Chris Lord out. Hell, in fact, Skillet is apparently touring with Ultra Bridge. I'm expecting a better album from them for sure. Even though at this point, from the first single, which I do like, I know I'm not expecting much of anything on the level of Fortress, but at least they still find a way to satisfy in a good way for people who are, willing to work with it. And I'm hoping that whatever they bring live, even though somehow sound-wise live, the band doesn't translate as well, which Skillet tends to, weirdly enough. That also being said, at least when they put in studio, or at least what they put as songwriting-wise, it's still good, and it's still what, of the alt metal post-grunge type sound, works the best. or at least how to do it right. And I'm hoping that some of that level of that form of talent and all that stuff finally rubs back onto you guys, as long as whatever you're doing rightly doesn't rub on to Miles and the rest of the group at this point. Just, come on, I mean, and maybe to the point where maybe you should get Michael Evans Biscuit to come on board and produce for you guys. Maybe he'll bring something out of you. And if not, I dare you to get Devin Townsend. I'm serious. Do that. Even though, yeah, there's a personality clash, but I'm sure he'll do something to light a fire under you. If Torm Alterbridge doesn't do it, I know this is longer than it should be. I'm sorry. And, I mean, you do get decent, like I said, you do get decent tracks like Anchor. I mean, Never Going Back is okay. I mean, there's most of it's generic, and it's safe, but even when it came to Switchfoot and when it came to even albums like Vice Versa, or even to the certain extent of Hello Hurricane, even though that's sort of an exception to the rule, those albums at least still felt like had certain presence to it, like what the previous 6 albums had. And then they screwed that up when they did Fading West. And they've tried to recover, but never did. And hell, I'd rather listen to that Switchfoot album somewhat over this record. You give me nothing. You kind of give me nothing, but yet you give me far more to be willing to want to have the runtime I do have, I guess. Or at least to hope that certain people, it's like, look, it's, like I said, it's one of those things. I'll at least see what, maybe they'll try to surprise me again with another Breaking Free type thing with the last album's deluxe edition. But I'm done at this point expecting Skillet to try anymore. To bother to try. They're just going to do what they have to do to pay the bills and feed the kids. And if this is all you're willing to give to do so, and it's not truly, which we know is not truly your all, then I hate to be this kind of mean, but I can't wait for your kids to say, this is how you chose to feed us and pay our bills. As grateful as you did what you had to do, we know you could have done better. If your kids say what I've been saying, then, and if that's the real fire that lights on your ass, I don't know what to say. I don't know what else to say that I haven't already said, even if I've become a broken record throughout most of this. But still a better listen. In fact, I'm slightly saying the actual track listing here somewhat better than what I first got to there. But that's kind of an ear of the beholder. But, I mean, and I know I'm going to get bashed for this one too, but more than likely, hopefully not as badly, I guess. Well, what did you guys think? Leave a comment below. Let me know. As always, guys, keep it random, keep it real, keep it rocking. I'll see you in the next video, hopefully, which will be my next edition of Schmoed on Rocks, as well as kind of, sort of, short, but sort of sweet, and kind of half a kind of a Fast and Furious Hobbs and Shaw thing, so that's what you got to look forward to after this one. By the time, hell, all 3 might be uploaded by that point in time, so yeah, take care, y'all. And I guess we just have Tool, Opeth, and Ultra Bridge, I guess, to go off of, and you know, I have other albums from earlier in the year that I need to have catched up on that I could talk about and say are better releases than this. So there's that. So again, keep it random, keep it real, keep it rocking. If you did like this video, rock that like button with thrust if you must. Also, Facebook in the description below, link in the description below. When you go there, like and follow me there. As always, guys, again, keep it random, keep it real, keep it rocking. I'll see you in the next video. Take care, y'all.